So, with the last bit of content wrapping up for IS3 in just under a month, let's talk about the upcoming Integration Strategies 4 update that will be coming to global. First of all, answering two important questions that people are going to ask. Will IS4 be replacing IS3? No. You will still be able to access IS3, IS2, and play it alongside IS4. And probably the most important question is, when is this actually coming? So if we just take a look at when this came to CN, this came on July the 13th, which was actually in between Typhon's banner. Now this is important because apparently IS4 is a continuation of Typhon's event story, so we should be expected to see this at minimum in between it or after this. If we take a look at the global schedule, a lot of predictions have been saying that the Typhon banner will be in February. Now of course this can get rescheduled, but if we assume that this will be sometime in February, we can probably assume IS4 will be in February, maybe March at latest. But with that nonsense done, let's talk about the most important thing. Let's talk about the rewards for IS. Now talk about the expedition records, which are basically the rewards for IS4. Just like we had eco sequence for IS3 and castle nodes for IS2, of course we have the same type of theme here as well. Apart from LMD XP materials, on level 25 of course we can get a new character who will be part of IS4, is Valoraquen. Now, Valoraquen is a 5-star who is a supporter and is part of the Ritualist archetype. Funnily enough, the first character to be part of the Ritualist archetype. She can deal arts damage and can also deal elemental damage. Her first talent, of course, making them more usable in IS4. Like most of the units in IS, they are kind of centered around this content. She will also deal elemental damage with this talent, and also her second talent will also increase her attack and attack speed. Her first skill pretty simply deals arts damage and can also deal elemental damage equal to the same amount of her attack. This can hold up to 2 charges, and her second skill increasing her attack speed and being able to attack 1 additional target, also inflicting elemental damage. Now with the release of Virtuosa, who's a 6-star ritualist, of course her actual viability will go down, but she is still a free to play unit who you can get for free, so maybe you'll be inclined to use her in IS4. Now the next reward on Expedition Records, at level 65 you're able to get this icon, at level 73 you're able to get this furniture set which looks pretty nice, but most importantly, at level 80 you're going to be able to get this brand new Typhon skin. Now of course Typhon is not released on global yet, but this skin is very nice. I've got to say I'm a big fan of the aesthetic for this skin. As you can see, the third skill of the massive marker, it just looks really cool. Some people did complain about the skin initially, but honestly I'm a massive fan of it. Unfortunately it's not Live 2D, I kind of wish it was, but regardless, love the animations and I do love the skin quite a lot to be honest. Now at level 95 we have a new lobby theme called Silver Rhyme. Lobby themes is something that's currently out on CN, basically allowing you to change your main menu and change the way it actually looks. There are several different lobby themes out at the moment, but this is actually the Silver Rhyme theme which you can get through IS. I actually do think this looks very good with the Mlynar skin, but let me know down below what you guys think about these themes. Do you guys like them? Do you think that maybe this should be changed up in some way? I do like this, but of course this is not going to be for everyone at the end of the day. Now moving on, at level 105 you also get another furniture set. This is basically the second half of the first furniture set. Now for the final 2 rewards confirmed on CN, we have this furniture at 118 and we have this Centaur skin at 125. Now I'm going to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of the skin. The second skill does look pretty cool, which is a positive. This does mean that we're probably not going to be able to get a Live 2D skin this time around for a 6-star, which is kind of a shame. I love the Live 2D skins for the 6 stars we get with each IS, but regardless, it is a nice skin and I do really like the cat. Now to explain one of the main gimmicks that will be coming to IS4, we have full dartles. Now full dartles, this will basically allow you to have different types of buffs, and it will also allow you to change the layout of the actual map. If you're wondering how to actually get these full dartles, from the looks of things, you get these through every single floor, and you can also have a chance of these dropping at the end of your battle. And the last method is through Rogue Trader. There could be another method, but I'm not aware of it. Now you might be wondering how this actually works. So each of these full dartles has basically 2 categories, a layout for dartle and an origin for dartle. The layout for dartle basically allows you to pick a certain node, and the origin for dartle allows you to maybe get collectibles, different types of buffs. Now by themselves of course you can't really use these, so you have to combine them. Once you combine them, I believe it makes a Concord, and then with this Concord you can use it on the map. But just to avoid going into this too deep, basically each of these also does have a theme. Basically the theme dictates whether it's maybe more combat oriented, maybe it's more non-combat oriented, and different types of things, especially the grey one. The grey ones do combine in a certain way which basically open up one specific node, and there is also rarity for this, so if you have like certain stars that are like 4-pointed, 4-point stars are actually the lowest rarity, 6-point stars are the highest rarity for these. Of course if you have a high rarity one, it's going to be stronger or make a bigger impact overall. Now, one of the bigger changes from IS3 to IS4 is actually the dice system is now gone. So if you like the dice system, which I know there's quite a few people who did. The dice system is now gone. In some sense, I am kind of sad this is the case because the dice system was quite interesting. Of course, some people like to just max out the dice and try and get as many sides as possible. And even the keys we originally had in IS3 are also gone, but replaced with something called survey equipment. Now, survey equipment is a rather complicated system. This does kind of have similar things to keys, like for example, you can enter certain nodes, you can unlock certain things, but this time around they actually have an impact on your actual run. Depending on how many you have, it can actually make it so you might not be able to see certain nodes in front of you. For example, if you have 0 of these, you cannot see any node in front of you, which is crazy because that basically means everything will be unknown fog. Of course, the more of these you have, the bigger the benefit, but you need 6 of these to be able to see every single node. So in the grand scheme of things, if you are a player who likes to prepare for every single stage upcoming, and you're like, okay, there's an emergency stage in 4 nodes, I'm going to be ready for that, I'm going to go towards that area, or maybe you want to go towards a rogue trader, you will not know unless you get closer to it. So this is just a way of making IS more complicated. Let me know what you think about it, because seeing so much unknown fog, especially to the people who might end up using a lot of these keys, I'm not too sure if I really like this, but at the end of the day, it is something that's a little bit different, I suppose. Now, most of you will be happy to know that the actual difficulty system of IS3 is coming over to IS4 as well, so we'll have all the way from 0 to 15 in terms of difficulty, of course 15 being harder. This is much better and I much prefer this system. There are a couple little differences in terms of actual difficulty, but in the grand scheme of things, it follows the same system. This goes the same for the squad screen. The squad screen is basically identical to what we had, just different squads because now we don't have a dice and we don't have some mechanics, but in the grand scheme of things, it is the same as the previous system for IS3. Now, we do also have cultural comparison, which is basically the skill tree that we've had for IS2 and IS3. You know, you can upgrade your stats, you can upgrade several different things. It looks a little bit more like IS2, which I do prefer the look of, but in general, it's basically just the same. There is also a temperature system for IS4, but it really doesn't have much impact from the looks of things. It's more just to showcase which floor you're on. For example, if you're on floor 2, you have 1 temperature. If you're on floor 3, you have -12 temperature. But something that is actually quite different is actually the look of IS overall. This is not specifically a feature we're going to talk about, but overall look of IS does actually look very nice. I do like this snowy vibe to it. Of course, it's supposed to be more like a freezing and cold type of vibe. You know, you see a lot of the white colors for like the snow. This is supposed to be kind of more like Icelandic themed from what I understand as well. Of course, we do also have the stages themselves. I won't show any of the boss stages, of course, because I don't want to spoil anything, but the stages do look very cool. I do actually like the uniqueness of them because they do look quite a bit different to other stages that we've had in the game before. I probably do prefer these over IS3 and IS2, even though they did have their own charm. I just prefer these at the moment. Funnily enough, if you want to go ahead and take a look at more of just IS4 information, Arknights literally made a website for IS4 information. Like, if you didn't know about this, of course, it is in Chinese, so for me it's pretty much useless, but if you are a person who understands Chinese or wants to take a look at maybe some of the pictures, there is literally information. I'm going to leave a link of that in the description. Now, to talk about the system that replacing light in IS4, supposedly, is Collapse. Now, Collapse does not have that much information on it. There is little things here and there, so I apologize if I cannot explain this in the best way possible, but the basic gist is, everyone starts off with 0 collapse, and every time, for example, you enter a new floor, you maybe do a certain choice in an encounter, maybe gain a certain collectible, lose a certain amount of life points, your collapse could increase, and once it increases, there is a chance you will actually get a debuff. Now, these debuffs are supposedly called paradigms. Now, paradigms have 2 levels to them. We have a normal paradigm and what seems to be called a deepened paradigm. Now, the normal paradigm is like level 1 of the debuff. Deepened paradigm is level 2. For a little example, a normal one could be natural DP recovery rate is reduced by 20%. That's a pretty big deal. But if we look at the deepened one says natural DP recovery rate is reduced by 40%. So basically the effect is doubled, and with these there is several different debuffs, so each of your runs is going to be quite difficult and quite RNG based. I think this is probably the right direction in a way, but maybe it's a little bit too RNG. Another effect, for example, all allies upon deployment lose 30% HP. It's a kind of big deal, but you can maybe handle it a little bit better. But the deepened paradigm is all allies will lose 60% HP upon deployment. That is actually insane, and it's actually a pretty big deal because you will literally have 60% less HP. And even though there are ways to control this, for example, certain nodes and also certain collectibles can reduce collapse, it doesn't really guarantee anything because you could theoretically not know where you're going because like we said previously, you were going to see a lot more unknown fog depending on how many indexes you have. It's so many different things that make this so much more RNG based. So if you are a person who likes high difficulty runs, maybe this time around you'd be more inclined to go for lower difficulty, or maybe have to restart runs more often because you might just get really bad RNG. But I guess to give my final thoughts on IS4 overall, I think it's very clear they're going to try and go for a more RNG approach so every single run kind of feels more fresh. I do think that's probably the right approach in some way, but are they really pulling this off in the right way? I'm not entirely too sure. If we take a look at, for example, the debuffs are quite detrimental, of course. They will affect your run in some way. There is also the fog as well. The fog is kind of going to go crazy. There's going to be so much fog in these stages, especially if you have 0 of the indexes. You are literally going to see fog 24/7. I feel like that's probably going to be the biggest problem, and I know some people are probably not going to like that. And there is also the buffs, which are quite helpful and do offer quite a lot of different combinations. Maybe they kind of offset the unknown fog because you can kind of change up the map in some way, maybe make it a little bit more different, and then you kind of know more what you're going into. It's just these little things that I'm very curious about to see how other people receive them. I think overall this is probably going to be much better than IS3 and IS2, but that's probably just a hot take. Now, to talk about two final things I know people will mention at the start of the video is the collectibles and the nodes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to talk about them in this video, mainly because a lot of it is not translated. There is not much information online for it, and of course, if we did try to go through every single node and collectible, we'd probably be here for about 50 days, and I'm not even sure if that's an exaggeration. So I'm going to leave some links to the websites down below that do have some information. Of course, some of it is not complete, or some of it is simply Chinese, so we don't have the proper translation. But regardless, I still hope you found this information helpful, and hopefully you understand a little bit more when it comes to IS4, especially with the rewards. The rewards do look pretty good, to be fair, especially a Typhon skin. I cannot wait for that, to be honest. But anyway, that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about in this video. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like on this video, honestly that would mean the absolute world to me. Also, we have a Discord down below if you want to go and join. We have all Arknights, anime, anything related really, we just talk about, and it's a nice little community. If you want to go and join, please be free to join. And also, for the final thing, massive shout out to Dylan because he actually gave me the gameplay for this video. Unfortunately, I cannot play on CN, so sometimes I have to do research, and with extra gameplay, it becomes a lot easier to make a video. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I will see you next one, and most importantly, have a wonderful day. Adios.